Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to be talking about how to write a good resume. And this comes from my few years of experience now as an entry-level chemical engineer working at a biotech company. And hopefully you'll find it relevant to whatever field or jobs you find yourself applying to right now. And the very first thing I recommend doing before you even sit down to write a resume is to really sit back and ask yourself, what do you care about in your job? What do you want to get out of your role? What do you want to learn? What do you hope to be doing? What kind of people do you see yourself working with? Where do you see yourself working? What kind of challenges do you want to come across? And these kinds of broad questions are things that are going to go a long way in helping you figure out what do you want. Because before you can even begin to uh, sell someone on what you want, you need to know what you want, right? And your resume is extremely important because it is the very first contact, it is the very first impression that you set on somebody. So it has to be very clean, very professional, very well thought out, and very focused. And the way I keep looking at this is essentially you are designing a product to showcase who you are and what matters to you and the decisions that you've made and why you've made those decisions. And so it's a lot of information that you have to present very clearly. And it is difficult to do. It can seem daunting, and especially if you're entry level and you don't have much to talk about, find things to talk about. Make that resume one page or make it seem like you've got stuff to talk about, because at the very least, I know you have stuff to talk about. You've lived on this planet for, if you just graduated college, probably about 20 years. And you've got a lot of skills to offer people. You've done things with your time. You've took up hobbies and you played sports, or you've done other things that have meant a lot to you. And so, uh, what extracurricular activities do you do? And these things are very important. But so, assuming we've found what we want to do, like let's say I want to work in IT and I want to do desktop support. I want to be interfacing with clients and I want to be helping them troubleshoot computer problems. The next step is to step back again before you start writing that resume and start reading the job description of the roles that you're going to be applying to. So there's going to be desktop support technicians, and you're going to see tons of these on LinkedIn, on Indeed, on Monster, on Craigslist. You're going to see tons of these job descriptions all over the internet, and your focus should be finding what are the key themes that you keep seeing again and again. And these themes are going to be things like ability to communicate clearly with customers, ability to resolve problems, ability to diagnose computers, a strong background with Windows or Mac operating systems, an ability to work with networks and troubleshoot networks and install printers and repair printers and replace print cartridges. And you're going to start finding a list of things that you need to have in order to do this particular role. I'm just using the IT thing as an example here. Um, but once you've got a good foundation and you've done your homework on what is an employer looking for when they're hiring somebody, and you know that this is something that you as a person actually care about, now you can sit down and start writing that resume. And once you've begun writing your resume, the analogy that I love to come back to every time I have to write a resume is to think of it like a supermarket grocery shelf. And, in the North Bay, we have Safeway. And basically, what you'll find is that when you're looking at uh, groceries, they put their best selling products at eye level near the top, because that's what they want the focus to be on. And so, if I have been working in IT for the past 3 years, and I'm applying to an IT role, the focus of my resume should be my highest selling product here, my best selling experience, which would be the IT position for this IT role that I'm applying to. It should make intuitive sense. And so basically, the way I look at it, and some people may disagree with me on this because you want to focus also on chronological order, but you hit home your uh, experiences that are the most relevant to that employer for that position. So after you've understood what you want and what the employer is looking for, you look at your own experiences and then you write those experiences on your resume in such a way that they hit home to the employer by showing them, and you can also tell them, but hopefully by showing them that you are someone who genuinely cares about doing IT and you like working with people and you like diagnosing computer problems and following up with issues and pulling all-nighters when you need to because there's no one's going to have phones the next day if you're not there. And this is the kind of stuff that people are looking for in any role that you're applying to. It doesn't have to be IT. Uh, and so start phrasing your experiences and focus more on the experiences that are relevant to this work. So people skills, hopefully if this is your very first job, I would talk maybe about the projects that you've done in college or in high school or the extracurriculars or something that helps hit home this idea that you are someone who works well on a team of people and that you're someone who can uh, stay cool, calm, and collected during moments of pressure when people really want to get their computer working or something, and that you're really good at fixing computers. Stuff that will show someone that this is what they're looking for is the best thing that you can do. And that is number three on this thing. Three. And so uh, once you've got that down and you've shown the employer that you are qualified, and even if you're not 100% qualified, don't let that deter you from not applying because quite often with a lot of these roles, if they say I want someone with 5 years experience and you've only got 3 years of experience, you've still got 3 years of experience and sure, it's just going to take a little bit more training to get you up to speed, but if you're really good everywhere else and the employer wants you, they'll take you, they'll hire you. So don't think that, oh, I don't have any experience or I don't meet all the requirements. The employers know and the HR or headhunters know that they're not going to get a home run on every single candidate that they bring in for an interview. So don't let that deter you from applying in the first place. And then once you've hit home that you're qualified or you're as qualified as you can show them for this particular role, you also want to start showing them now that you're someone who brings other things to the table that they might find attractive or interesting in a candidate. So besides strong people skills, maybe you have a YouTube channel or something like you love playing sports, and this is stuff that will go near the bottom. It's not, these aren't selling points, but they are things that once you've grabbed someone's attention with your demonstration that you are qualified, this is kind of a secondary thing that shows them that, all right, you're more than just a robot who has accomplished all of the requirements I want you to have. You're someone who you're super passionate about rock climbing or soccer or bike riding or whatever thing that maybe, I would find that really useful to have in someone who works in IT. Maybe being a car mechanic in your spare time and making YouTube videos, it shows that you're someone who can uh, talk with people really well and get dirty and not be afraid to get dirty and stay up all night working on really bad problems. So you have a car that runs the next day. These are things that are really cool to talk about in interviews and, things that will help set you apart from all the other people who've just given this bland cookie cutter resume for that same position that you're applying to. So after you've got all that together and you know that this is the job you want, you've looked up what the job needs you to have, you've shown them that you have most or all of what that job needs you to have, and then you've also shown them that you go above and beyond with some additional things. And this shouldn't be too much, just maybe 1 or 2 lines of your hobbies or things that you think that would be interesting for them to, or something that you could talk about in an interview. Now you're at a point where you can actually apply to the job. And when you apply to the job, just know that based on what I've seen and based on what our current world is like in terms of hundreds, if not thousands, of applicants applying to one position at one company, don't expect to hear back always. Okay, even if you're above and beyond qualified for this role, things are really competitive and there's a lot of choices and a lot of uh, people that HR and headhunters need to screen before they even get back to you to tell you yes or no, we want to bring you on site for an interview or give you a phone call. Most often they'll give you a call as an initial screen, and then if they still like you, they'll bring you on site. But just know that you may have your heart set on this one position at this one company. Uh, that is a dangerous way to go into this because you're getting emotional, and it's going to hurt a lot when you don't get that role, because quite often it's not going to work out that way. It's going to be, you're going to have to apply to many, many jobs, and it's going to be stressful and hard to get rejected, but you just got to keep going and keep applying. And then once you hear back from these people and they want to give you a phone call, that's where I have other things where I talk, other videos where I talk about the way to approach interviews. But just know that everything you put on this resume is going to be fair game for an interview. So if you talk about how experienced you are in a particular discipline, and then they ask you to demonstrate your experience in that discipline and you can't do it, that's terrible, because that looks like you're someone who is dishonest, and you've shown that you're now dishonest. Or at the very least, what you can do to salvage those moments is say, like, this is something that I haven't done in a very long time, but I did used to do it, and these are the areas that I think are relevant. And to the best of my ability, this is what I can currently do. If you don't know how to answer the question, just be honest, but don't oversell yourself on that resume. This is where you need to be honest, sincere, and genuine in your own abilities, your own strengths, your own weaknesses, and this is what people are going to be looking for when they're hiring you. So don't think of your resume as this opportunity to just start bragging about yourself. This is the first impression you set with people, and this is your arguably the most important moment at which you show them that you're not someone who's going to sit there and promise the moon when you can't, and that you are someone who will ask for help and admit that you don't know the answer to every problem, because that's another thing that employers look for, people who, what do you do when you don't know the answer? Because no one knows the answer 100% of the time. They need people who are gonna sit back and ask for help and document thoroughly what areas they're weak in and what areas they need the help in, and find the right people that can answer that question or solve the problem that they can't solve. So, this is my advice to writing a resume. Uh, some people may disagree with me on certain aspects of it, but this is my take on it. I hope it's useful to you guys, and thank you for watching, and let me know if you have any questions.